Hi everybody, it's great to see you again this week. I don't know if you remember Evan. Say hello.
Hello,
Awesome.
guys.
Evan has worked at the church for the last 2 summers, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's back for a 3rd summer because Glamorgan Church is just so awesome. That's right. And when I'm gone on sabbatical, Evan is going to be doing a lot of the stuff that I normally do, which means he's going to be putting together your lessons for Cornerstone. And I've had a sneak peek and they look fantastic. So you guys are going to have so much fun with Evan in July and August and September. And then I will be coming back, but after 10 weeks. Today we are continuing our learning about the armor of God, which we find where? In the book of John? No, not the book of John. The book of Galatians? No. Ephesians, which is Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, Galatians, and Ephesians. And all the way at the end, in chapter 6, we read about the armor of God. So far we've learned about the belt of truth, the snazzy breastplate of righteousness, the shoes of peace, which is the gospel message, and being ready to share the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ with everybody. And today we learn about the shield of faith. Whoa, that is pretty cool. Mr. Rick can't shoot me with Nerf bullets now, can he? No. Look at that. Oh, I'll take my eye out. I'm going to injure myself with the shield of faith. All right. Now, faith is quite honestly sometimes a weird thing to talk about. Because faith means about believing and trusting. I've asked Evan to look up a verse. Can you read the verse from the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 1?
Yes. It says, faith is being sure of what we hope for. It is being sure of what we do not see. That's interesting.
Being sure of something we don't see. Let me show it this way. I have a whiteboard marker here. If I drop this whiteboard marker, what's going to happen, Evan?
I think it's going to fall.
Well, why won't it float up?
Well, probably because of gravity.
Okay, but can you see gravity?
No.
But how do you know gravity exists?
I don't know. I've heard like science stuff about it, and I see things falling, and so I'm like,
okay,
yeah,
so let's see. I'm going to throw it up higher and see if it'll stay up.
Ooh,
no,
close.
No. Let's try it again. Woohoo! No, that's
Not
right.
really.
You guys all know it's going to fall because gravity makes things fall down. And so we have faith in gravity. We don't see gravity, but we see the evidence of gravity. Every time something falls, it falls. If all of a sudden things started floating up, we'd all be a little freaked out and wondering what's happening. If Evan just started levitating beside me, I would be like, what's happening? But our faith is because things are constant, consistent. And that's what it is with God. We know that God loves us. He shows us He loves us. We know He cares for us. God's always true. God doesn't change. The God that we read about in creation is the same God that we read about at the very end in the book of Revelation. So that's what faith is about being certain in God, who we see evidence of God, but no one has seen God face to face. Okay. So in the Bible, it talks clearly that our faith is going to be tested. I would really like to say that once you become a believer in Jesus, it's going to be easy. There's going to be no troubles. But as we talked about earlier, we do have an enemy. The enemy doesn't want our faith to grow. The enemy wants us to doubt God. The enemy wants us to turn our backs and say, you're not real. I don't have any faith in you anymore, God. That's when the enemy wins. But the Bible says our faith is going to be tested. But the good news is that the Bible also tells us how we can win those battles. And one of the ways we can win the battles is with this armor that God has given to us. All right, Evan, could you look up Ephesians chapter 6 and read verse 10 to the end of the shield of faith? And why do we do this every week? Because it's good to remember what God says in His Word.
Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand. Stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, and with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, which with you may extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one.
Awesome. So today we're going to talk about the shield of faith. And the shield of faith helps us extinguish the, did it say the flaming arrows?
That's what it said, flaming arrows.
The flaming arrows. I think regular arrows are scary enough, but if they're flaming, that's extra scary. What the shield of faith does is helps us to stand strong under pressure. So we're going to do an object lesson to help you understand how this works. So I think, well, we need some flaming arrows. So how about we have a little bit of flaming arrows?
Okay, let's go.
So Evan's going to give us some flaming arrows.
I'm going to try not to burn myself.
Try not to burn yourself. You can turn it on the
Here
side.
we go.
Yeah. Okay, so the candles represent, and we're lighting them on fire, and you guys can try this at home with your mother and your father, or one or two of them, or someone, or grandma. Adult supervision. I'm here supervising Evan because I'm older.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was doing this, I'd have to have Mark here supervising me, right? So the candles represent the flaming arrows, the pressures, things that are hard in life, that make you doubt God. All right. So we're going to be represented by the paper bags. And these are just normal, there's nothing tricky about these paper bags, right, Evan?
They're just normal paper bags.
So we're going to have one paper bag that represents us without the shield of faith, and we're going to have another paper bag that represents us with the shield of faith. Which one should be? How about we take this one? Doesn't matter, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to add the shield of faith. So you can kind of see it here. Here is water, but water, look, you can see right through the belt of truth. Water, you can see right through water, and that's kind of like the shield of faith. We're talking about faith isn't always easy to see. And I'm going to pour a bunch of water into this bag.
All right, let's see.
That's good.
You ever put some water in a paper bag? Not I.
All right, I'm going to move this over here. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to have the paper bag that has got nothing in it, which is the one far right there where Evan's pointing. And we've got the paper bag that has the shield of faith. And we're going to subject both the shield of faith and the non-shield of faith to the flaming arrows and see what happens.
See what happens.
Okay. You guys have faith. What's going to happen here? When you put paper under flames, why the bag's on fire, Evan?
Oh my goodness.
Why isn't this bag burning up
Crazy.
then?
I don't know.
So what we're seeing here is we're seeing that the shield of faith is protecting the bag, the person, from the flaming arrows of the evil one.
Look at the difference.
Did you think that was going to happen? I certainly didn't think that was going to happen.
It's okay.
I'm going to take this one off.
Yeah. It's dripping a little
Got a
bit.
bit of leaking from the seams. But you know what? Here. How about we empty this outside and we'll come back and show you what it looks like. So here you can see this was the bag, which was the person with the shield of faith. And there's just a tiny little bit of burn marks on that bag. And the water is just because I dumped it out and it spilled all over the place. So, normally what you do now is I have you watch a video about a story from someone in the Bible who is a great example of faith. But what I want you to do today is, rather than watching a video, is I want you to talk with someone, your parents, a brother or sister, whoever's doing this with you. What is one of your favorite Bible stories, and where do you see faith evidenced in it? Is it Samson, when he puts his hands up against the pillars and he's blind and he can't see anything, and he has faith that God is going to come, fill him, and that he will overcome his enemies that day? Is it David as he's picking up the stone and running at the giant, and he has faith that God is going to protect him? Is it Esther, and when she has faith to come before the king with her hand open when she hasn't been invited? Is it Peter when he steps out on the water? Is it Daniel in the lion's den? What's one of your favorite stories, Evan?
I think my favorite one is probably when David goes up against the Philistines, and he hears in the background, he hears like the Philistines hear in the trees, they hear what sounds like all these people, like a big army coming towards them. And David was scared to fight those Philistines, but God told him he was going to win for them, right? And so God actually, they didn't have to do anything. The Philistines ran away, and David came in ready to fight, ready to follow God, and it was already done.
Yeah. I think one of my favorites is when Moses and they get trapped at the Red Sea and Pharaoh's army is behind them, and they've got to make this choice to go through, and Moses raises his hands and God separates the water. Because that was miraculous and amazing, but you still had to have a lot of faith to walk through, and that wasn't going to come crashing down on you.
Right.
So I think there's lots of awesome examples about faith in the Bible. So let me remind you to have a shield of faith combined with your belt of truth, your breastplate of righteousness, and your shoes of peace, the gospel message. Wow, God has given us a lot of armor to protect us.
Yep.
So if you're thinking, I need to be afraid of this enemy, you don't, because God is with you. And just like that paper bag was protected by the water, where the other paper bag had no protection, God will protect you from all the flaming arrows. So we'll see you in a week. Bye-bye.
See you.